We were signed and we were on tour and whatnot, but never quite made that breakthrough to be drawing money and to
Yeah, yeah,
have it as a career. I just felt that I'd built up goodwill and championship fans knew who I was, and
yeah.
that I was the crazy guy who'd be at 5 championship games in 5 days.
Yeah.
It's a really difficult one, isn't it? My opinion on this has changed pretty much every 5 days since and I just remember thinking after 10 minutes, I was like, oh, this looks solid. When a non-professional eye like mine can see exactly where everyone should be.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel Front Row Seats. Today I'm joined with special guest Benjamin Bloom.
Hello.
Hello, mate. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm enjoying all these calls that I'm getting to do. They're kind of keeping me sane at the moment, and I do say that with the knowledge that other people are out at work. Yes,
100%.
other people have it worse, but bit stake. What we on, like day 34 or
I've
something
lost
like
count.
that?
I've lost count, mate. I'm not even.
Roll on May the 7th, and we'll see what the government say next. But no, I'm absolutely fine, and it's a good chance to talk football, isn't it? So enjoying all these
100%.
calls that we're doing.
100%. Well, before we get on to talk about football, let's start about your career before football. Obviously, you were a musician. If I got my facts right, you were in a band between 2009. No, sorry, between 2005 and 2009.
Oh God, yeah. Okay, this is presumably Wikipedia telling you this, isn't it? Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
was in a back in the mid noughties. Yeah, I was in a band called Rosalita, and we did pretty well. It was
Yeah.
to use a football analogy, it was a kind of playoff semi-final defeat for us. We were signed and we were on tour and whatnot, but never quite made that breakthrough to be drawing money and to
Yeah. Yeah.
have it as a career. But it was a great time, and I suppose for what I do now for YouTube and talking and creative output, it gave me the buzz for kind of performing, because what we're doing right now, you're putting yourself out in front of
100%. Yeah.
people. But yeah, keyboard player in that band, and yeah, just great times in my sort of early 20s, going around the country and around Europe, really, playing
Nice.
gigs. Yeah.
All right, and then obviously you had a bit of a solo. You had a bit solo, didn't you, for a little bit, and then you set up your own band, didn't you? Was that
I
right?
did, yeah. So the band Rosalita split up, and I was sort of a backing singer in that, and I would get involved in the songwriting, but we all did it together. And I don't know whether it was ego or whether proving something to yourself, but it was, I might have a go at
Yeah.
writing and singing, and again had a good run with that. I was probably more successful with the actual band than with my solo stuff. I think I'm long enough removed to be able to admit that
Fair
now,
enough.
but certainly had some great times, and I'm sure there'll be a time where I go back and do something musical. I mean, I'm still a musician as a worker, and I still go and do um, you know lots of jobs in restaurants and sitting
Yeah.
in with bands. But for the last few years, really, my creative output has all been waffling on about football, like we're doing right now. So yeah, I'm very lucky that my hobby sort of became my job, and I've performed to
Yeah.
lots of people, and got to do lots of fun stuff.
Fair. So that's a great segment actually to football. Um, your first ever football video on your channel, if I'm right in saying,
Oh,
was the Blue Monday podcast on the 3rd of the 8th, 2015.
Oh Christ, yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think which way round. 3rd of the 8th, 2015. Ah, okay, right. That's probably a podcast going up on the.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was.
so
Yeah.
I mean, basically, what happened was, I mean, I was still in the throes of being a musician at this point, and I actually had another podcast. I had a music podcast
I did
where I
see that
would,
one. Yeah, when I was
yeah,
looking
where
through.
where I would interview musicians that I knew, and we just chit chat about music. And I remember I used to do that once a fortnight, and it's good bit of fun. I mean, the most fun I had was actually just reconnecting with friends and people that I'd
Yeah.
worked with in a musical capacity. But um, that was at the point where Ipswich were just kind of coming back, and we had the playoff semi-final season in 14-15, and there was a bit more interest, and it piqued my interest back in football after being, out on the road being a musician for so many years. So decided to start a football podcast,
Yeah.
which is the Blue Monday podcast, which is just an Ipswich Town type thing. So that was the start of it, and then the videos. I think it was. I think you just had to do it in the end. We were watching the podcasting thing boom, and hopefully we were ahead of the curve on that with,
Yeah.
in terms of the Ipswich audience. But then all of a sudden, just audio wasn't enough, and people were wanting reactions and
Yeah.
videos, and every journalist now was having to make videos. So I just remember it was at the start of a season. Which season was it? It would have been 16, 17 possibly. And I put a message out from the podcast account. I didn't want to do the videos. I thought I'll keep doing the podcasting, and we'll bring someone in, and
Yeah.
so I put a message out, and this guy replies, I forget his name, and we had a chit chat, and I said, join the team, and on the day of the game, you're gonna, film yourself going down to get some footage in the ground, and then a reaction afterwards and whatnot. And it was like, oh, okay, fine. And then I always remember a couple of days before the last pre-season friendly, the guy messages me and says, "Oh, Ben, I'm not so sure. I've seen how some of the comments people get back on YouTube, and I'm not so sure I want to do it." And it's like, okay, fine,
Yeah.
that's cool. So I thought, right, we got 2 days, and we've got no one to do it. I'll just have to do it myself. So I was very, very lucky, because what happened was the very first game I covered was a pre-season friendly, and it was away at Charlton for Ipswich. So there weren't many Ipswich fans there,
Yeah.
and Ipswich lost 6-1.
I've got that in my
So
notes actually. Yeah. The
yeah,
first
so
classic car vlog.
yeah, right. So Charlton were in League One, and Carl Robinson was the manager, who's now the Oxford manager. So we got very, very lucky that, one, there weren't 15,000 Ipswich fans at the game who all knew what happened, and two, it was a complete train wreck. Charlton scored with every shot in the first half. So I mean, that taught me something about YouTube immediately, that there's nothing like a 6-1 defeat, or a manager getting fired, or
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, it's from then I mean, probably like yourself, you start making the videos, and it's just seeing what people want, and what people
Yeah.
want to see. And it turned out they sort of enjoyed my match reviews.
Hmm.
So then I'm ending up taking notes at games, and
Yeah.
racing back to the car. I've got to get got to get this
Yeah. Yeah.
got to get this video done real quick. And then it was kind of, you just start extending things from there. I was sort of like, if I'm going to be away from my missus and the dogs for 10 hours to travel to an away match and do it, I need more than one video. So then you start doing match experiences as well, and then
Yeah. Yeah.
what it's like. Then it
Yeah.
snowballs, and God, now it's news stories, live streams, reviews, and previews, and
Hmm.
it's really cool. It's really good fun. It gives me a similar buzz to, not the same as performing on stage as a musician, but I'd like to think that I'm lucky enough that I've got to, I've had people take an interest in me doing music, and now I've had people take an interest in me
Yeah.
waffling on about football. So who knows where it will go? The subscriber numbers are decent. I've had a few TV appearances, and people like yourself will contact me to do stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, it continues growing, and it's all really fun. And hopefully I haven't gone down about 8 notes in your
No, no, not too
in
many.
your
Not
bullet
too
points there, Dylan. Yeah, good.
No,
Sorry.
no. We'll go before you're on championship. We'll go a bit about your team, obviously Ipswich.
Yeah, yeah.
I just want to talk about what was like the first memory you can remember of like being an Ipswich fan.
Yeah. So my dad, so I grew up in Ipswich. my dad took me to an Ipswich game. He doesn't actually support Ipswich, but I always remember it was the local radio, Radio Orwell, and this would have been, I think it was in 1990, possibly, so many, many years ago. God, how long ago is that? It's 30 years ago. Jesus Christ. Um, and it was weird because they were running. So Ipswich are in Division Two, as it was then, which is the Championship
Yeah.
now. This is pre-Premier League, and we just had the World Cup, and Steve Bull had gone to the World Cup with Wolves. And I always remember the radio advert. They were trying to sell tickets for the game on the basis you get to go and see Steve Bull. That was that was the there's a bull in town. I remember the radio campaign. So my dad took me along to that game. That was my first game. I don't remember much of it. I remember sitting low down, and I remember it being really noisy. And I remember having to watch out for Steve Bull because that was the radio ad. And he got one chance and he put it straight at the keeper, and the game ended 0-0. So there you go. Glorious. But I do remember the second game I saw. I actually saw Oldham get promoted under Joe Royle. Really good Oldham team that was. I think they got to 2 cup semi-finals in the same. They were an amazing team. Look, if you haven't, look them up. Oldham 89-90. That was the team that got to 2 cup semi-finals. The team I saw was the team late. I think a year later they got promoted. And strangely, Ian Marshall, who went on to play for Leicester in the Premier League, he scored 2 goals for Oldham, and then he went on to play for Ipswich after that. So, and I always remember we were sat underneath the away fans, and I was a young kid. Obviously, I just remember the noise from above when when Oldham scored, and I remember, so yeah, my first 2 games were a 0-0 draw and a home defeat that saw another team get promoted at Ipswich. But yeah, those are my sort of first memories. I'm sure I'm misremembering some of it, but yeah, just going with my dad, just him taking me as young. I think he took my sister as well, who probably couldn't have cared less about she's a lawyer now, but yeah, she probably didn't give a crap about the football. But yeah, those are my first memories: Steve Bull and Ian Marshall. There you go.
So obviously sport Ipswich for a long time. Who would you say? It's a tough question, this is, but who has been your favourite Ipswich player?
Oh God, it's not a tough one. It's Marcus Stewart. So yeah, so when I was really going to every game in the late 90s, you start to, and I always say this to people: your favourite team and your favourite players are always when you really. It'll probably be the same for you when you're just starting to fall in love with it, and
100%.
especially that period where you get your first part-time job and your first paycheck, and I remember I used to earn like £3.60 an hour or something like that to work in a hotel in Ipswich, and I used to save up that money to buy away tickets, and used to go with your mates. But the story went that Ipswich missed out in the playoffs 3 years running, and then in comes Marcus Stewart, club record signing, and 2 goals in the playoff semi-final, and then 1 goal in the final. Get promoted to the Premier League, and then we had the amazing season where we finished 5th in the Premier League. And some people say he was a one-season wonder, but he was the guy that was the difference in that team that missed out 3 years in a row. Marcus Stewart. Obviously, I loved Kieran Dyer when he came through as well. In recent years, it's not been so good for Ipswich. I really enjoyed Martin Waghorn, who was here for 1 season and got loads of goals and loads of assists, and then typically in Ipswich terms, the first deal out, he goes to Derby. The first people put some money down on the table. But yeah, he would be my modern day favourite player, as well as Ryan Fraser, who we had on loan from Bournemouth, who was a great player for a couple of months, but of course he was he was never ever going to sign for. I think he's out of contract.
He is, I believe.
He's out of contract, and Bournemouth potentially, not surviving. I think we might see him at a bigger club, sort of top 10 Premier League club. But yeah, Marcus Stewart.
Fair enough. So moving on from Ipswich now, you decided to when Ipswich got relegated, was it 2 years ago now? Or is it?
Ipswich got relegated. They've been down. It's a good question actually. They've been down in League One a season, but it felt like they got relegated about 2 years ago
Yeah, it
because
did.
halfway through the season they were done. But yeah, so it's been we knew they were going down from
Yeah, yeah.
halfway through, but they've been one season or 37 games or whatever it is in League One.
Fair enough. Yeah, you're right. It does feel longer. But what was the reason for for you to keep doing championship games though, and not just focus on Ipswich?
Um, it's difficult because this pisses off Ipswich fans when I say it. When you're doing a YouTube channel, if you don't support Leeds, Forest, Villa, Derby, Sheffield Wednesday, a big club with a big fan base to
Yeah,
broadcast to. When it's Ipswich, even though Ipswich have been a great team and won the UEFA Cup and do have a real solid fan base and around Europe as well from the European days in the 80s, although that may be starting to run dry now after years and years of no success. When you support a team like Ipswich, it's hard to kind of meet your ambitions in
yeah,
terms of growing your YouTube channel. That's tricky. So what my thought was that I loved covering Ipswich and I loved doing the podcasting, was to try and bring more people into the podcast team to join and help out with that. And I just felt that I'd built up goodwill and championship fans knew who I was, and
yeah,
that I was the crazy guy who'd be at 5 championship games in 5 days,
yeah.
and
100%.
reviewing all of them. So I'd built up that thing. Obviously, it didn't go down too well with Ipswich fans. I'd get comments saying, "Oh, why are you at, I don't know, Luton versus Middlesbrough or
Yeah,
what have you?" But that was the thing. It's just personal ambition, really, that I'd built up the thing in the Championship. Honestly, I thought Ipswich would be straight back anyway, and it wouldn't be
yeah,
an issue. But yeah, that was the kind of reasoning for doing it, was building that up. And what I did try and do was, even whilst Ipswich were down in the Championship, excuse me, I had started doing, branching out.
yeah,
I've just got I'll always take something and think, what can we do more?
yeah.
What can we do extra? So, I'd go and see the TV game on a Friday and then watch Ipswich on the Saturday. And sadly, that's where you learn that if you go and see a team that's pushing in the top 3 or 4, um, and you're putting out that video and it's getting X thousand amount of views, and then you go into the Ipswich game where you've got a big subscriber base and people really invested, and you're getting a quarter of the views or a
Yeah,
fifth of the views. It's difficult, and some people would say, well, where's your loyalty? Well, of course, as a
well, of
football fan,
course,
my
Ipswich,
loyalty
yeah.
is always, I'm an Ipswich fan and I'll always be an Ipswich fan. But it's two different things. It's trying to make a go
Professional
of,
and like, yeah,
yeah, exactly, trying to
hear
make
that.
a go of a YouTube channel. So that's why I kept doing it. My big hope was that Ipswich would come straight back up and it wouldn't be an issue. And yeah, it's pissed off some Ipswich fans who were used to getting a review every game of Ipswich and that content. But I just wanted to branch out and try and reach as many people as I
Fair
could.
enough.
So that was why.
Well, so you obviously been to a plenty of championship games. We'll talk about this season. So you've been to a lot this
Yeah.
season. What's been, if you can think of one on top of your head, what's been your favourite game this season
Oh,
that you've been to?
it's weird because a few of them actually happened on the first weekend of the season. The the first game I went to this season was the actual first game broadcast on TV, was Luton v Borough, and obviously you haven't been to a football match for 3 months,
Yeah.
and you go back to this game and it was mental. It was 3-3, and um, you know the Luton debut keeper record signing threw one in his net under his hands. A Luton centre half scored from a massive volley. A Sombalonga smashed a penalty over the bar. Lewis Wing scored from 30 yards or what have you, and then Luton equalised to make it 3-3. And you're kind of like, God, if the season's like this is gonna be brilliant. So that was great. Just as a getting back to it, I was at Hull versus Leeds, and Leeds were incredible. They
Yeah.
were It was 4-0, and the third goal Leeds scored was just fantastic. So for a pure, you know,
Football.
I'm sitting here as a football fan, you
Yeah.
know, this is fantastic. I'm trying to think the other ones. I've seen Forest win 4-0 at QPR this season as well.
Oh
I've
yeah.
seen, I've seen a few big ones. The best football, it's difficult to look past Leeds, Fulham and Brentford for the actual,
100%.
you
Yeah.
know, aesthetic, passing and stuff. But
Hmm.
probably um, for entertainment, that Luton v Borough, and it's Luton as well. You're in that
Yeah. Yeah.
ridiculous stadium where, with all different bits and wooden seats and posts all in the way. And, so yeah, that game for entertainment and for a sheer performance, Leeds second half at Hull, I think.
Thanks, yeah. I was fair. I was going to ask you like what teams do you enjoy watching, but you basically said Fulham, Brentford, and Leeds are the best to watch on the eye, aren't they?
I would say it's difficult because it depends what your philosophy is,
One
because
hundred
you can
percent.
have a team like Forest who are a really good football team, and do they pass the ball as well as Leeds?
No,
No, they don't. But does that
100%. I know
particularly,
what you mean. Yeah.
are they a really effective football team? Yeah, a really really good team. Um, look, it's hard when you've got
True.
Marcelo Bielsa
Mm.
managing in the Championship, and they just play such great football. But for me, it's not all about that. I really like going to Millwall. I have a really good relationship with the Millwall fans there. I was really enthusiastic. The first videos I was doing was the 17-18 season, and Millwall were doing brilliantly. And I was on the internet saying, look, this is a really good team. Go and watch them. They could make the playoffs. So I always get people come up to me and chatting at Millwall, which is
Yeah.
which is really great to talk football with people. I like going to Luton because it's down the road and it's a crazy stadium. I love to go to the Forest and see the Brian Clough video played before the
Oh
match,
yeah,
and
yeah.
look at the
Yeah.
European Cups, and then Sheffield Wednesday, the big history like that. So
Mhm.
um, in terms of who do I like watching and where do I like going, yeah, I think most people would acknowledge Leeds are great. We should credit West Brom as well. I haven't seen West Brom absolutely on fire this season. I know there was a
No.
game where they beat Swansea 5-1 where they
Mhm.
were brilliant, and maybe I'd change my tune if I saw that. And they've been great, but yeah, Leeds are a lot of fun, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, not when you're against them, no. But,
There you go. Yeah.
but fair enough. So there's been quite a debate, especially at my university, quite a lot. If a championship has got better in the last decade or not. I was want to get
Oh.
your thoughts. What do you think?
Um, it's a really hard one to
It is,
answer.
isn't it?
10 years ago, did we have? I mean, you look at the three teams last season that were in the challenge. Let's throw Villa in as well.
Yeah.
And you look at the football that Norwich played. Norwich played and as an Ipswich fan, it pains me to say, they played they played like a Premier League B team. They played amazing
Yeah, they
football,
did.
didn't
Yeah,
they?
they did.
Sheffield United are one of the most innovative teams that we've had in years, with bringing the centre half round the outside of the
Man,
wing
I
back,
still can't get my head around
yeah,
that.
to overload. And you sit there watching it. I always remember someone, I mean, people are sick to death of hearing it now, but and there's a video of me saying this as well, saying in like September of 2018 or something, saying I think Chris Wilder's onto something here. And then no, but in 2017, 2 years before they went up.
Yeah,
Then you have Leeds playing this amazing football. Even the way, if you'd seen 10 years ago Villa splitting the centre halves and playing through, and then up it goes to Grealish, and they won't cross it into the box, or they won't play long. And so obviously the football's improved, but then the football's
yeah,
improved generally.
true.
In relation to the Premier League and the gap, um, I think the money has ruined it a little
Agreed.
bit now,
Hmm.
because it's it's very very hard. And I don't want to go off on a rant about parachute payments, because I do on every podcast I appear on. But I mean, take Forest, who are a big club with an incredible history, who have not had Well, no, they've never had a parachute payment, Forest, have they? If you think about it,
No, we
not
got
in
relegated
terms
in
of the
'98.
when were Forest last in the Premier League?
98.
2000 and oh Christ, it's '98.
Yeah.
Jesus, so Van Hooijdonk took them up. There you go. So Forest have never had a parachute payment. They've
Mhm.
had a whole series of different owners and different managers, and this season they've got themselves into fourth place. You've got another owner there trying to push his, maybe some money comes out of Olympiacos and goes back into it, and
Yeah, yeah.
however that
Hopefully that
however
is
that works.
undisclosed fee.
There you go, undisclosed. Always to Olympiacos with an undisclosed fee. But he's trying his absolute best, and they're going to rebuild the Peter Taylor standard,
Yeah,
trying to compete, and it's on a knife edge. It's right on a knife edge. If they have
true.
a couple of bad seasons and they don't have a Joe Worrell or a Joe Lolly or someone who maybe they can sell for a good
Mhm.
fee, you start to worry, and you think, is it fair that a great club like Forest receiving 4.5 million pound solidarity payment when Huddersfield, who are also a great club but stank out the Premier League last year, come down with a 45 million pound
Agreed. Yeah,
parachute
mental.
payment, and then you've got the ridiculous thing of Huddersfield then having to loan Forest Diakabi to get him off the wages you're like, this is madness. This is absolute
Yeah,
madness. So,
it is.
look, let me circle back to your question. I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's better. Look at that Forest team that went up when you had Van Hooijdonk, Stone, Cooper, um, some really. I'm probably missing out some really good.
Yeah,
Those seem to be the three. Premier Kevin Campbell, who was a really good player as well. Really good team. And in that same era, you had Quinn and Phillips playing for Sunderland, and you had Paul Gascoigne playing for Middlesbrough. Do you have those?
no,
Van
I think
Hooijdonk was
so.
a world-class player
Yeah,
playing in the Championship, wasn't he? And
true,
then went
true.
on playing Europe in Turkey and at World Cups for Holland. It's probably not as good as it was. Is it still massively entertaining?
100%.
Yes, it really is. But I mean, I'd be interested to know what your conclusions are, amongst
Yeah,
you and your uni mates. But it's probably not as good as it was, and particularly in comparison to the Premier League, it feels like it feels dim and
massive.
distant. And you
Yeah,
have Norwich scoring 94 points, playing exactly the same football in the Premier League and being bottom of the league. And if Norwich come down with the same manager, with the same director of football and most of the same players, I think they're going to score 90 points again.
go back up.
That's
Yeah.
yeah, if they can really keep the continuity and avoid injury. What's the view amongst your uni guys?
A lot of them think it's the championship quality's got worse actually, and the way that
Mm,
I look at it for me is I compare it to Forest's last good team, which was the Earnshaw team, where it had like Earnshaw, Blackstock, under Bay Davis, and I think that team personally was better than the team we've got now,
really?
player for
Yeah.
player. I think. So that's how I look at it. But a lot of my mates from uni do believe the championship's got weaker, and like you said, the gap between the Championship Premier League is just massive.
What I
Like,
will say about that Forest team in comparison now is Forest are a good example of how when you get a really good manager, how that manager can drag players that maybe
yeah,
should be finishing eighth or ninth, and they're fourth, they're fifth.
yeah,
So
100%, yeah.
sometimes I think a manager is undervalued, but it's interesting that you say that. I remember as well under Paul Hart, because I interviewed David Johnson about this. That was a awesome team with
Oh, Andy
Johnson and
Reid, yeah,
Harewood and Andy Reid.
Dawson
Des
at the back,
Walker and Michael Dawson at the back was like
yeah.
experience and a really good.
Bit like now
And
Dawson and Worrell now. It's a bit like you see that now.
the other way around, yeah, of
Yeah,
course, yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's so tricky to.
can't
But
judge
isn't
it
it
properly.
great that we get um, those that tactical innovation and
Oh
people,
yeah,
and you see Leeds, with three players in their half, playing first time balls across the box, and you
yeah,
know, I mean, Fulham they do it at about half the speed that Leeds do, don't they? But they still keep the ball.
Oh,
But
they love to
yeah,
keep the ball, they do.
to the extent of everything else, sometimes it seems. But
Agreed.
when they do click, if they're against a particularly sort of low block, and they're allowed to kind of move things around, it works really well. But yeah, I think I would agree with your conclusion. But it's a really interesting
Yeah.
debate.
A little bit about obviously managers being better. I agree, managers better now. I think personally, like you look at Lamucci, and I think one thing I've read about you, you've always rated him from near the start, where a lot of pundits have been like unsure about Forest. One
Right.
thing tactically, I think he's one of the best in the league when it comes to against the Fulhams and the
Mm-hmm.
Leeds. He knows how to frustrate them. Do you know what I mean? We've seen it on like against top six. I think we've got the best record. I might be wrong. I
Yeah.
think we've got the best record against the top six. I
You
wonder what
never
your thoughts
concede
are.
any goals against them, do you?
Not very rarely, no. I mean, we kept
No.
Fulham with one goal. We kept Leeds. We won 2-0 at the City Ground against Leeds.
Hmm.
Drew to West Brom late equaliser with Cash.
Yeah.
Uh,
No.
yeah.
So on Lamouchi, it's really interesting because I have to admit, and I've got a video backing this up. When I saw Martin O'Neill go in, I was a bit like, really? In 2020? I know, it's an amazing player and won the European
Mm.
Cups with Forest and a legend. And don't talk to me as an Ipswich fan about Roy Keane, but and I thought that's not going to work in 2020, is it, at Forest?
No.
Surely not. I remember how his Leicester teams played, and they were very competitive, but it was very aggressive and direct,
It was
and
10 years
and
too late.
yeah, and you're up against a Dean Smith, possession machine, Chris Wilder,
Hmm.
Bielsa, and Farker, who they've just moved on, haven't they? Which
Yeah,
is what I was
100%.
going to come to. But I didn't know what Lamouchi would be like. And the first game I saw of Lamouchi's, it was Forest versus Derby, so it was the East Midlands Derby. When would that have
Is
been?
that
That would
was that the 3-0 one, the cup game, or was that the league one?
No, it was the league one. It was 1-0,
November, I
and
think it was, if I'm right in
yeah,
saying.
Derby made a horrible
Error.
mistake, and
Yeah,
Graben scored.
did
Is that
Graben.
right? I'm
Yeah,
trying to
Graben
remember
did
it.
Graben, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember sort of looking, and I always sit up in the Brian Clough stand, so I try and get a good view. And I just remember thinking after 10 minutes, I was like, "Oh, this looks solid." When a non-professional eye like mine can see exactly where everyone should be, and you see, oh,
Yeah.
Cash has gone forward, and the number 10 has now dropped in central midfield, and I immediately thought this is a very well coached
Mhm.
team defensively. They look very, very solid. And you look at players like, I mean, Cash has been an interesting one
Yeah.
because you think, will that work? And then you realise that in a Lamouchi system, the players with the most freedom are actually the fullbacks. Because he
100%, yeah.
keeps it locked up down the middle. And I've watched Sammy Amiobi many times and thought, oh, he could be a really good player, but he's a lower,
Mhm.
and in that system, he's looked really good, hasn't
Yeah.
he?
Him and
With
Graben's got like 5 assists, or like him to Graben. They've got like what third best link up in the championship.
There
Play
you
for play.
go. Yeah. Yeah, I think he's a really good manager, and he's got that. I mean, yeah, Forest have got good players.
Yeah.
Graben in the Championship is, you put him in any team in the Championship, and he score 15, 20 goals.
Yeah.
And he just always does, doesn't he? So
Yeah.
Forest have got good players, but yeah, I'm a fan of Lamouchi. I've seen Forest 3 times this season, and they've won all of the games, and they haven't conceded a goal. So yeah,
Come
I've seen
to
them.
keep coming.
That's what Forest fans always say when they see me at a game. I've seen them win at Brentford, win at QPR 4-0, and beat Derby 1-0 as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've not even seen Bryce Samba concede a goal.
Oh no, he's been a fantastic keeper this
He
year.
was excellent in that game against Derby as well. I remember
Yeah.
thinking, oh, and with keepers as well, he seemed to have a big personality,
Oh yeah, his
which
personality is massive.
which I think goes a long way for certain types of goalkeeper in their command of the players around them. So
Yeah.
yeah, impressed with Lamouchi.
Good. Nice. You probably had this question a lot, so you're probably sick of it. But if a season gets scrapped, let's say they decide to scrap it, which I hope they don't. But obviously there's bigger issues going on. But some people have said, "Oh, just let the top two get promoted." How would you feel about that? Or would you feel if it's going to get scrapped, just forget about the season completely?
It's a really difficult one, isn't it? My opinion on this has changed pretty much every 5 days since I just remember waking up on, it was March the 13th, and I had a ticket for Fulham versus Brentford, and I had the day off, and my missus went off to work, and she said, "Are you sure you want to go? Are you sure you want to go to this with this going on now? You want to go and stand in, 10,000, 12,000 people,
Yeah,
whatever there is at Fulham?" Whatever happens, it's going to be unfair. It's going to
yeah,
be
agreed.
unfair to somebody, isn't it? Because if you relegate the Premier League teams, well, that's unfair because they could have won 4 of their last 5 games
Mhm.
and stayed up. If you promote the teams based on where they are now, well, that would be unfair as well because even though it looks unlikely, West Brom could lose 3 and Fulham could win 3, and all of a sudden we've seen that, haven't we? And it
Yeah, we have. Yeah,
switches around. It would also seem to be unfair for Leeds and West Brom and Forest have played themselves in the playoff to not have the opportunity to finish the job. So it's going to be unfair to somebody. Whatever happens, it's coming up with the least unfair thing to the most people, which is going to be tricky. And then you get the logistics of it. Okay, how are you going to do it now? Do you?
Mhm.
And there's loads of ideas. Do you promote Leeds and West Brom, suspend the rest of the division except the playoffs, play
Yeah,
the play the playoff games, all in? You know, you could have a scenario like that where you trot out, who would it be? It would be Preston versus Fulham.
and
So
then
they
yeah,
play at 11 o'clock, and then
Brentford
uh,
Forest.
Forest and Brentford play at 3 o'clock after they've
Yeah,
cleaned everything or whatever, and then the players are in quarantine for a week, and then they come back 2 days later, and then you play the final or whatever, and you promote that team. I don't know. That's whether that's doable.
yeah,
What I do think is um, they shouldn't be in a rush to make a decision. I think they should keep listening and see what they can do. But then, as you probably know, all the contracts are up for expiry at
yeah. I
June the
watched your last
30th.
video about the out of contract. There's quite a
Yeah.
few good players in there as well.
Well, Ben Watson, Sambasau, he must have an option. Sammy
He
Amiobi's
must
out
do,
of
yeah.
contract. I mean, you'd think there's options
And
on all.
Lemucci's.
Is he really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, he's
Get,
had a 1 year deal in the summer. So everyone's like, well, what's
oh, get
happening?
that done, Jesus.
Yeah,
God. But it's so difficult to tell. Um, I like to think that I sit as a non biased person, and even my team, Ipswich, are in 10th. They don't really deserve to go up, to be honest. And then you see this ridiculous suggestion of decide it based on the results of the first half of the season, and Ipswich would go up, despite the fact they've dropped off to 10th. It's crazy, some of the things. There's a lot of self-interest. If I'm listening
100%.
to I'm not having a dig at Norwich here, but if I'm listening to my friends who are Norwich fans, null and void it, no
Yeah, yeah,
no
yeah,
relegation. And then I'm listening to Leeds fans, and they're, well, whatever you do, you got to honour the promotions. So I
yeah.
do think there's a lot of
100%.
self self-interest, but it just feels whatever you do is going to be unfair unless you play the last 9 games. And then
Yeah,
people will still argue, oh, my team had these home games and they're really good at home, and now they're having to play at St George's Park in front of, on a neutral ground in front of nobody. And, oh,
yeah,
we were on a good run. And if we'd have played you then, you wouldn't have had this player because he would have been injured. And everyone's going to moan. And I think we just need to
100%.
accept that um, for people my age and your age, I'm sure this is like when we hear older people talk about living through wartime. This is like our
Yeah,
weird thing. And during wartime they stopped the division for 5 years, and who was
yeah,
it? Portsmouth held the FA Cup for 7 years, or some whoever, I can't forget
yeah.
who it is won. So I don't know. What's your scenario?
Um, I think personally, I think if they're gonna scrap it, they should just forget about the league altogether. like they have done in some European countries, because I don't think you can justify for anyone. Does that make sense? I don't think you can justify Norwich getting relegated. I know they basically are relegated. Like, I think Villa, for example, because they've only like 1 point off safety, and like you said earlier, West Brom and Leeds aren't. If they're mathematically up, I'd be different. Do you know what I mean? But because they're not, it's like we've seen it before. Was it last year when it was Leeds were second and Sheffield United were third? Leeds went on a wobble, and then Sheffield United overtook them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's a ridiculous one in the Premier League, wasn't there, where I think Man United was 7 points ahead of Man City and there was a huge swing, and Man City end up. I think that was that possibly the Aguero season. Or I can't
yeah,
remember which season, but they were miles and miles ahead. But yeah, it's so difficult, and you're never going to please everybody.
no, not.
I think the most important thing though is if there's a danger of clubs burning money while there's no games, and you know X team at Macclesfield or who else is in trouble? Southend,
Yeah,
Bolton. Oh, Bolton are kind of
they're
sorted
okay
now, aren't
now,
they?
aren't
But
they? Yeah,
if there's a danger that we're holding on and making a decision, and if if that club could have, I don't know, gone into hibernation and cut down wages and or been saved, then that kind of seems more important than um, I don't know, Peterborough getting a go in the playoffs or
100%. Yeah.
or what have you. So it's really, really difficult. And
Hmm.
whatever scenario they're going to come up with, you're going to have X group of fans don't like it.
Agreed.
And I hate to say, it is self-interest. It's going to be,
100%.
well, that benefits us. So, I mean, as an Ipswich fan, can you imagine if they come up with this? Oh, it's the first half of the season, and we're promoted. It'd be the most ridiculous thing, and I'd be like, wow, that's a tainted
Yeah,
promotion. And then,
100%.
but then also, um, what do you do money wise then? Do Norwich get 2 seasons and Villa get 2 seasons worth um of Premier League TV money?
That's
Do
true.
do you pay Huddersfield and who else went down? I can't remember. Huddersfield, Cardiff,
Swansea.
and
But
do
no.
they get the
Yeah.
same parachute payment again?
True. Fair
You
enough.
know,
Yeah.
what do you do if you do have no?
Exactly. It's like financial fair players. Obviously, I don't want to get too into kind of, like you said, you probably spoke about it a lot, but like I swear, like Leeds have got if they go up, they can sign that striker, and then like a lot of teams have like Forest
Yeah,
bought a lot of money over the last 2 years for the idea of promotion. So
yes.
this year, do they say okay, financial fair play does not count this year? Do you know what I mean, or do they
Well, and
punish teams for it? Do you know what I mean?
think about think about the Diakabi loan to Forest. I bet the discussion was, can we do this? Can we not do this? Oh, we're in the top six. Whatever, I don't know, 15 grand a week or 20 grand a week or whatever they're paying towards what's no doubt a big wage that Huddersfield signed up. The
Yeah,
decision would have been, oh, can he help? Can he be an extra body,
yeah,
to help us get through a playoff game? So and like
exactly.
you say about Leeds as well, the whole plan, right? Let's pay Bielsa another 3.5 million quid or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Keep him for another season. You mentioned Augustin or whatever,
yeah.
and yeah, they would be big losers in this
Mm-hmm.
Leeds. That would
100%.
feel very. Although you get the idea that Bielsa's so stubborn, he'd probably go, "Nope, I'm staying for another season."
Yeah, yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
I'm not having this. We were up and we've been denied unfairly. So I don't know. I
So
just
many
don't know.
questions. That's the problem. There are so many ifs, buts, and maybes that no one can
Yeah.
answer it. Like this.
And have you seen I just been on Twitter before we started the call. Apparently, 3 of the Cologne players have got the virus. So they've opened
Oh,
up
I've seen
training
that.
in Germany with a view to starting in. I think it was even earlier in the
Was
start
it
of
the
June.
seventh? Or seventh? Well, it's seventh this month, if I'm right in
Was it
saying.
really?
I'm
Christ.
sure that's what they're trying to get done.
And you've immediately got those 3 players going to isolation. Have they? I suppose that they might not have been in contact, but then,
But I know what you mean,
um,
though. Yeah.
yeah, and if you're, I don't know, if you're Leeds or whatever, and it's Calvin Phillips is the one that has to go out, or you're
Oh
Fulham
yeah.
and it's Mitrovic that has to step out, or Forest and it's Graben or Lolly.
So yeah,
It's oh well,
it's a
it's
hard
so
one.
hard.
So many ifs and buts, and like,
Yeah, it's so hard. Yeah,
but like you said earlier, like it also benefit, like you said earlier about like for example, Forest had Sam Sow out for the last few games before the lockdown. Like he's like when we have him, we're unreal. Like our record with him compared to ours is ridiculous. But like once if we come back now, he's fit. Do you know what I mean? It's like you said, teams will come to us and be like, "Well, we were meant to play you. You didn't have him. So how is
Yeah,
that fair?" And it's
yeah.
like, yeah, it is, but
There's so many angles. It just changes every
daily.
day, doesn't it? I know people don't want to hear it, but the longer they can go and the more information they can collect, but just from a pure science approach, we have a virus that's massively contagious that we don't have a vaccine for,
Exactly.
and that just spells trouble. It's all
Mhm.
well and good. I would love nothing more if I was on lockdown to, oh, we're going to St George's Park and we've got 4 championship games. I'd sit and watch all 4 of them.
Yeah, yeah,
Do you know what
100%.
I mean? And
Yeah.
all the players are tested every day, and they're all in their separate lockdown hotel outside, and multiple testing. Obviously, um, assuming they had the number of tests to give
Yeah,
to
of course, of
to
course.
give to
Yeah,
frontline people, but I just don't know whether it's going to
possible.
happen. Yeah,
Like
who
so much
knows?
money for that in there as well. Like if you like you said, if you had like one stadium, like so many teams and hotels, then you got like lockdown, and then it's just it'd be. I don't know. But I personally, I think they're going to avoid it. That's
And
what I think.
and that could well be the case. And all of these conversations we'll have had will end in that they just can't beat the virus in time. And the difficult is, yeah, fair enough. League Two, League One, but when you're talking about Championship, and like you say, if um, the lead striker,
Oh,
and there's a big amount of money that's been
yeah,
spent to brought him in, and it's on the basis of bringing your revenues up from uh, 50
yeah.
million or whatever to 180 million. It just seems like it's too much of a mess, and there's already been too much money invested for them to.
Mhm.
It's just gonna be lawsuit hell, isn't it? After that, and you kind of don't blame the teams, and you wouldn't blame, like you said, Villa. Oh, we got a game in hand.
Yeah,
Can't relegate us. We literally could play our game in hand and be out of the bottom 3 after one game. Could be 2-0 up after 10 minutes. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
There you
Sad,
go.
like obviously, sadly there's no like laws in FA or FIFA where it's like, oh, if a virus happens, there's nothing because obviously no one ever thought this would happen.
And you have just inadvertently hit the nail on the head there, because you said the FA, FIFA, PFA, EFL, Premier League, UEFA. How are you going to get all of them to agree on it? Do you know
Exactly,
what I mean? There's
100%.
too
Yeah,
many.
yeah,
It's not like the NFL where, right, it's the NFL and the college system,
yeah.
and the
Once,
NFL's
yeah,
just gonna make a
100%.
decision. But you've just kind of said it yourself, and we all know that what benefits the Premier League does not benefit the EFL, and what benefits the
100%.
EFL does not benefit the Premier League, and
100%.
what
Yeah.
benefits the FA does not benefit the PFA. Oh man,
Mental. Yeah.
too many cooks.
Couldn't agree. It's like
Absolutely
PSG. They're
mental.
saying they've cancelled their league, but then they still want that. They came out and said they still want to play the Champions League. It's like what? Like your league's cancelled. So like I doubt a Champions League will be back. But yeah, it's mental, mate. But let's say the season does come back. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Obviously safe in the Championship. Let's say West Brom and Leeds go up top 2, which I think they will do. Out of the 4 playoff teams right now, who is your shout to get promoted? Do you think?
I've said for a while I'd quite fancy Forest in a playoff game, on the basis that um, in a 46 game league, the teams that consistently create the most chances tend to wind up at, up near
Yeah,
the top of the table. Whereas in a two game, 3 game series, it tends to be the teams with the best tactics,
yeah,
and the ability to absorb pressure and things of that nature. So although you could see Brentford over 3 games, could create enough chances to beat most teams, you would have a little slight fancying for Forest in the regard. And I'm not just saying that because you got a Forest interest here. I have said that on my channel for
yeah. They have,
a
yeah.
while. It's quite interesting the way the 2 games would be set up, though, because you've got Fulham and Brentford, who are very much sort of possession based. You've got
100%,
Forest, who are a good counter attack side, and a solid, well organised team. And then you've got Preston, who you wouldn't want to play the away playoff leg at Preston first, because you could be beaten by Preston are good at home, and
Yeah, they are.
you know they're not the football side maybe that Fulham or Brentford are. So there could be two really interesting.
Yeah.
You kind of almost would prefer Forest v Preston and Fulham v so you get two different types of
Yeah,
Fulham v
100%.
Brentford, two different types of games. But honestly, you could, if it was the way it was, you could have. I could see either final. You could have a Forest Preston final. You could have a Fulham Brentford final. Um, that's the beauty of the Championship, isn't it? There's no,
Yeah.
and I say there's no outstanding team. Leeds were outstanding last year and collapsed in 45 minutes to Derby, didn't they? So,
Yeah, that's true.
um,
That was
you know,
mental. That was, yeah.
it just doesn't
Crazy.
matter. From your point of view, from Forest though, I would, and having seen a lot of playoff games where particularly Ipswich in the late 90s were always the good football team and would get in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
And here comes Howard Kendall and kicks the crap out of us and beats us. Here comes Alan Kirbishley, stops us, beats us. Here comes Colin Todd, stops us. Here comes Sam Allardyce. Do you know what I mean? Often, it's
Yeah.
difficult. It's difficult, but I wouldn't count Forest out for 1 minute. No.
No, I know that a lot of Brentford fans don't want to play us at all because Brentford fans hate the way we play. Because obviously they love the way they play, but against us they struggle a lot against us because we're
I
quite.
was at I was at that game, and
Yeah.
what was it? It was you'd admit a really jammy goal
Oh,
that
the
Forest
luckiest
scored.
goal scored all season.
Lucky goal, but they were quite comfortable.
Yeah,
This wasn't Ben Rama creating 10 chances and them missing and Samba making loads of games. They looked like they could defend a lead for 60 minutes, 70 minutes, and
yeah,
everyone looked nice and assured. And what's I assume it would have been Watson and Sal kind of
yeah.
organising everything from the
Mhm.
centre there. So yeah, Brentford won't want to play Forest.
No,
But then
no,
again, who wants to play Brentford either? Because they
that's true. Yeah, but then
stick five past anyone, can't they?
as a Forest fan, I think a lot of Forest fans might agree with me on why not. Maybe I'm talking rubbish, but I'd personally rather play Fulham and Brentford rather than Preston.
Yeah,
Because
I
I
can
think
see that.
Preston can match our intensity. Do you know what I mean? Because we're quite a hard-working team, and like where Fulham and Brentford focus a lot on their passing, where we can tactically, where Preston the pass has been a bit of our bogey team, especially at a Deepdale. Like so we've got to go down, we always struggle there. Like it was like you said, they're quite good at home, though, aren't they?
Yeah,
Preston.
well, and for most of I don't know if they still do have the best home record, but for most of the season, they'd scored more points than anybody else at home. And you can imagine big Stockley up front,
Yeah,
and they get men. I'm not saying Preston are a direct team. I'm not saying they're a long ball team, but you pick the right word. The intensity is, Alex Neil,
yeah,
especially at Deepdale, and you've seen these games before. The year Ipswich went up, Barnsley played Birmingham in the other semi-final. They won the first leg 4-0. It was just done. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes
yeah.
you get playoffs like that where a team freezes in the first game, and there goes
That's it.
your
Uh,
entire season on the back of
Derby
45 minutes.
Hull when Hull went to Pride Park and won
Yeah,
3-0. And
yeah,
then
it was incredible, wasn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
that was good for us lot. Anyway, which team? Well, last few questions. Which team of this year has surprised you the most? Then
Which team have surprised me?
maybe got your prediction at the start of the season was so wrong, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay. So I had the one that was really getting me was Charlton, but I had Charlton like finishing bottom, I think, and then after about 6 games they were fourth. I had that one badly wrong. The parachute teams, I expected Stoke, because Stoke were just pitiful for, not even bad, just rank awful for like 0.3 points per game or something stupid. So Stoke, I expected to be much better. Huddersfield, I think Huddersfield had got into a losing culture. I expected them to be better. I'm quite surprised how well Gary Rowett's done at Millwall. I'm quite surprised how well Mark Bowen did at Reading.
Yeah, that did surprise me when he hid himself. I was like, "What's this
Yeah,
about?" And then it was
yeah.
like, "Oh no,
I
it's all
thought,
right."
yeah, I thought this is going to go south quickly. But no, I saw them. Um, I saw them recently. They haven't surprised me, but QPR have been quite good fun at times. Just kamikaze conceding so many goals, but
Oh,
still having Eze
Typical Wolves
and
that is.
Samuel and Chair and Wells when he was there, and Hugel. I've been quite surprised by Forest because we didn't know. No one knew
No.
what
Yeah.
Lamouchi was gonna do. Did they? Yeah, it's not. There's not been a crazy.
True.
You know, Norwich coming from looking awful in the first 5 games to just sailing through the
Yeah.
division, or Sheffield United being so good. No, not too many surprises. What about you?
Um, I was from a Forest perspective, I wasn't very hopeful, especially after we lost 2-1 at West Brom start season. So I was like a bit Willamucci. That surprised me. Preston always surprised me. Then I look at their squad on paper and I'm like, you should be nowhere near the top 6. But obviously their manager is a decent manager.
Recruitment's very good as well
Yeah.
at Preston, isn't it?
This might be an unpopular.
Blackburn,
Black.
Blackburn maybe.
Yeah. Maybe.
I think Blackburn you'd have in the bottom half, and
True.
they're higher.
True.
I tell you what, here's one that really did surprise me. I've just got the table up. Cardiff. I expected Cardiff, Warnock, parachute payments. Up they go. Do you know what
I
I
think I
mean?
had Cardiff second. I think in my
Yeah,
prediction.
I think
Yeah.
I definitely would have had them in the
Because
top
like you said,
6.
Warnock loves this league and like he just knows how
He's
to.
so good in this league, and yeah, gone by November as
Yeah.
well. I haven't been surprised by Borough actually. I thought it was going to be really hard for them after the parachutes ran
Yeah.
out. Sheffield Wednesday. I was surprised when Sheffield Wednesday were third. I have to say. That said, I didn't expect them to drop quite 15th with the play closed. But yeah, when you look at it though, look at the sharp end: Charlton, Luton, Barnsley, and
Yeah.
the other end: Leeds, West Brom, Fulham. So there hasn't
Yeah.
been that
100%.
many surprises in really the business positions, has there?
No, I would say with Fulham though, like maybe it's a controversial opinion, but I think with a better manager, they could be top of this league pretty easy because of their
No,
squad and the
I
play.
don't I don't disagree with you at all. It's really difficult to judge Fulham because if they don't go up, you're going to say failure, outright
Yeah.
failure. Kenny, Knockout, Cavaliero, Mitrovic, Arta, you should
Mm-hmm.
get promoted. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
But you can't call them a failure until they haven't gone up, which is the difficult thing.
True.
I always have fun with Leeds fans, and I tell them you'd have 100 points by now if Mitrovic was playing as
100%.
number
Yeah.
nine, for
For the Bamford.
but yeah, it's an interesting one with Fulham because if he takes them up, job well done, develop. But yeah, I did expect because when I saw Fulham Leeds in December, and I think they were 13 points behind at that point, and you're like, no, this is not good
Yeah.
enough. But
100%.
hey, there could still be a playoff situation, like
Of
we said,
course. Yeah. Of
and they
course.
could still be promoted. In which case, you say, well done. And so it's a tricky one, isn't it?
They remind me a
But
bit of Villa last year, where squad on paper is good enough to
mm,
win the league, but like they might do in the playoffs like Villa did.
it's madness, though, was it? Villa won 10 games on the trot. I think because of what was going on above them, people underestimate that. 10 in a row is just
That is impressive. I mean,
unprecedented. And
Sky Sports keeps saying, like, I wrote this season. They've done it a few times with Derby when Rooney's been come back and saying, are they going to do what Villa did like last year? They're trying to find that team because Villa went on a great run. But I can't see personally any team going on a 10-game win. Well, not now especially, but like, do you know what I mean?
well,
Make the last push.
we've had Leeds and West Brom when they streaked out. Both did 6 or 7 straight wins, didn't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I can't see it. I can't see it
No.
either, to be honest.
What do you think of Rooney anyway in the Championship with Derby? Get your thoughts on
Rooney,
that.
I think it's
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I was at his first game, and uh, put your rivalry aside. I think it's great to have him in the league. I mentioned Paul Gascoigne playing for Borough all those years ago. Technically, he's still probably. I mean, is there a better passer than maybe Phillips or Kearney or someone? Is there a better
So get some
passer
Leeds fans, right?
than him in the
No, I agree.
league?
When I've watched him before, like I think his vision is. Well, it's not even me having a dig at Derby at all, but like when I see him, like he'll play a ball over and the Derby players won't read it.
Oh, he's way ahead. Yeah,
Yeah, like it's
but
like,
he's Wayne Rooney for
of
for
course,
goodness
yeah,
sake.
yeah.
You don't lose that, do you? I think it's great for us to have him. I think of all Derby's financial kind of iffiness, I don't have a problem with them doing a deal with 32 Red and them. that's good business.
Yeah.
I think, continually fiddling the amortization of players and the stadium sale and which
Oh
year
yeah,
does it go in. I think that's more iffy. I don't have a problem with the way they got him. I think it's
Mhm.
very corporate, it's very clever. But I was at the game. Who were they playing? Oh, they were playing Fulham, and Rooney Panenka the penalty in, and I was like, oh, what a player, what a player. So no, I've loved
Yeah.
Rooney at Derby, and he's been great, hasn't he? He's put a couple of free kicks in the top corner. Panenka the penalty, played various 80-yard balls, and generally taken the piss in midfield. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's a great player, and you know get him in, get more like that in the division. Yes, please.
Yeah, 100%. And finally, we have a personal note. What would you like to achieve then throughout your, let's call it YouTube career then? Like, what would you like to, let's say, in the next 5 years,
Um,
short term?
well, it's difficult to to not be sort of overly ambitious. Obviously, being the age I am, I know that there are people much younger than me with charisma and energy, and if they can make a career from it, then I say great. Good luck to them. I've got a job, I've got a career, I've got a house, I've got a car, I've got some
Yeah.
dogs. Everything's fine with me. I don't. So it is a fun hobby. Obviously, if you ask me, would I like to have 50,000 subscribers and be making enough money on ad revenue every month to work part time? And or even the dream scenario is to be able to get up, make a couple of videos, and that pays your bills. That would be
100%, yeah.
great. Honestly, for somebody my age, and the fact that I'm covering the Championship and it's not Liverpool and Man City,
Yeah.
it's difficult for me to draw that audience. But realistically, I make something from it, so I
Yeah.
get a nice little tickle. That there is a chance that if I continue to grow the channel, that I can maybe work part time and do that. But I enjoy doing it. It's a hobby. It's a creative outlet. And you probably found yourself, it's so flattering that you go to a stadium and someone who supports the team, who clearly knows more about the team than I do, comes up and says, Ben, hey, yeah, I watch. What do you think? What do you think today? And it's like, well, you tell me what you think. You watch, you watch
Yeah,
every
yeah.
week. But that's the great thing. So yeah, I mean, if if nothing else happens, it's still great. I still make a little bit of money, and I'm known at stadiums, and I get to chat to you, and I get to go on the telly every now and then, and on the
Yeah.
radio, and on podcasts, and yeah. So just keep going and see where it takes us. But God damn it, we need some football to talk about
We do,
fairly
we do.
fairly
Keep coming
soon.
up with
But
content ideas, isn't it? When you're like, it's hard, isn't it? When you keep thinking,
oh, it's
oh,
tough,
like,
and I
it's not
find myself. I wake up in the morning, I flip open Twitter, and I'm like, oh God, what am I talking about today? Is anything going to happen? But I think what the lockdown has maybe taught me, and probably taught other YouTubers, is I think it's actually going to be helpful in terms of generating ideas and content, because if we're managing to keep going on the scraps that we've got, then maybe the next time I'm driving home from work and whatever story has broken and I'm like, I can't be asked to, I'll be like, no, I think some people, we can get some debate going, and some people who want to hear about that and
yeah.
chat about that. And so maybe from a news point of view, it's given me some more ideas
Hmm.
about what to make videos about. But yeah, I'm perfectly happy to pass the torch to the younger content creators. If you know they can make careers out of this. Again,
Yeah.
I don't need a career. I've made
Fair
decent
enough.
money from doing music, but be nice, wouldn't it,
Yeah, it will be
eh?
nice. Well, we'll wrap up now then. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast. Honestly, it's been such a pleasure to talk to you.
No, absolute pleasure, and I'll do my normal anytime, and I'll do my normal at Benjamin Bloom on Twitter, and
Yeah.
come and find us. I assume most of your audience will be Forest fans, so plenty of
Put all your stuff
Forest.
in the comment on the
Yeah,
description so you know where to go. And I bet they
plenty
already
of
know you. You've definitely, I mean,
yeah, plenty of Forest stuff down the channel. But like I said a couple of minutes ago, I'll always say, if you've got a Nottingham Forest season ticket and all you tweet about is Nottingham Forest, and you watch every Forest game, and you can tell me, then I need to learn from you, not the other
Yeah,
way, not the other way around. So I get told I'm knowledgeable, but it's only from communicating with, you know,
yeah.
people who've had a Forest season ticket for 35 years, who I can tweet and ask a question or what have you. So yeah, please come and watch, and obviously support other creators as well.
All right, thank you very much. Make sure you hit that like button, guys, and make sure you subscribe. Thank you for watching.